You know what really grinds my gears? The fact that as soon as November 1st rolls around, the Christmas season officially starts. Sure, we have Thanksgiving in between, but let's be honest, Thanksgiving is just a Christmas pregame. So in a way, Christmas gets 2 months of celebration while Halloween only gets one. And I decided this is just not right, so how about we extend the spooky season by a week and review one last spooky movie.
Who's up?
I'll do it.
Cannot go for more than 90 seconds. Am I clear?
What happens after 90 seconds?
Don't want to stay. Put your hand on it. Now say, talk to me.
Talk to me.
Talk to Me follows a group of friends with a pretty messed up party game called Talk to Me. The game is played by having someone hold on to an embalmed hand, then saying the words "Talk to me," which will then conjure up a spirit only the player can see. Then the player has to say "I let you in" to really let the game begin. And as you can imagine, they stupidly play the game until something goes horribly wrong. As far as the cast goes, I'm only going to mention a handful of the actors involved for the sake of time. But starting with the main character, Mia, we have Sophie Wilde. As Mia's best friend, Jade, we have Alexandra Jensen. As Jade's brother, Riley, we have Joe Bird. Then as Haley and Joss, we have Zoe Tarakis and Chris Alocio. But getting into my review, I will be structuring it like usual, starting with the positives, then the negatives, then I'll end the review with my ranking. So without further ado, let's get into my review for 2023's Talk to Me. Alright, so getting into the positives, the first one I would like to mention is the performances from the cast. Every single actor in this film gives a great performance, and on top of that, every performance feels incredibly natural. I never once felt like anyone was over or underacting. Everyone played their roles perfectly. It's hard not to say everyone was a standout, but if I had to just pick a few, I'd say that Sophie Wilde, Alexandra Jensen, and Joe Bird were the best. But honestly, everyone gives equally great performances. But on to the next positive, and that is going to be the cinematography. The camera work in this film is incredibly creative and engaging. One of my favorite examples of great camera work in this film is where you'll have a character tilt their head or fall over, and the camera will tilt or fall with them. And it's those kinds of shots that stick with me and make me want to rewatch just for the visuals alone. But the final positive is going to be the writing for both the story and the dialogue. As far as the writing for the story goes, you can tell the writers were very focused on the details. There are very few, if any, plot lines introduced that don't get brought back or gain more significance later on. And as far as the writing for the dialogue goes, the film surprised me in the best way. Talk to Me has some of the most natural sounding dialogue I've ever heard in a horror film. It's so easy and typical for movies like this to have rough dialogue, especially when you're dealing with teenagers and partygoers. But I'd say the writers, along with the actors, make this dialogue incredibly believable. And that's all I have as far as positives go. I know it might not seem like a lot, but if I'm being honest, most of this movie is a positive for me. So at a certain point, I'd just be rambling about how much I love this movie. So now to get into the only negative I could honestly come up with. And if I'm being honest, I'm not sure if this negative has more to do with the pacing or the story. But in about the second to third act, I did notice that the film was starting to lose my attention just a little bit. And I'm not too sure if that was because I wasn't as invested in that particular area of the story, or if it's because I felt like the film slowed down a little bit too much for that portion. Either way, the film did lose me for just a little bit, but I will say they brought it back for me in the end. But that's all for the positives and negatives, so let's get into my ranking. And since this film is only available to buy or rent, I'll be ranking it under the at-home film ranking system. So as far as my ranking of 2023's Talk to Me goes, I'm going to go ahead and give the film a buy it. This is a nearly perfect horror film in my opinion, and will definitely make my top 10 favorites list for 2023. So hopefully I didn't just overhype the crap out of this movie for those who haven't seen it yet, but do yourself a favor and check it out. But those are just my thoughts on the film, and I'd love for you to talk to me down in the comments below. Have you seen the film? What did you think? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Are you in the middle? Have you not seen it? Are you planning on watching it anytime soon? Why or why not? Really, any comments you have for me, I would love to hear from you. I respond to as much as I can. But do me a favor and leave a hand on this video, click the subscribe button to see a ghost, and ring the bell to let them in.